Your spirit was never alone. It always remembered what the mind forgot. Before the first breath you drew on this earth, before your eyes opened to the flickering light of morning or the dimming hush of night, you knew a presence that spoke without words. You knew a name that had never been spoken aloud. There was a whisper within you, not in the voice of the world, but in the language of eternity, that told you someone was coming. And though the world would pile on years and distractions and pain, that whisper would never truly leave you. It would be buried, perhaps, under disappointment or time or logic, but it would not die, for it was not born of the earth, it was born of heaven. As we move through this world, we often feel a deep hunger that we cannot name. A longing not quite for a person, not quite for a place, but for something that remembers us, even when we ourselves forget who we truly are. This hunger is not weakness. It is not foolishness. It is the echo of a spiritual memory, of a love that existed before you had any idea what love on this earth should feel like. And if you have ever felt this ache, then understand, you are not crazy and you are not alone. You are simply remembering with your soul what the mind has no language for. We are taught to live from the outside in, to observe, to analyze, to act, but the greatest truths do not come from calculation, they come from recognition. And when that heavenly love begins to stir, when it draws near in flesh or in spirit, you do not meet a stranger. You recognize a home. You do not fall in love as if into an unknown place. You awaken into love as if opening your eyes in a room you have always lived in. You may not know their face, but your spirit knows their presence. Your mind may doubt, but your heart remembers. It always did. Some say love begins when eyes meet or hands touch, but the truth is far deeper. Real love, the love written into the fabric of your soul, began long before your body took shape. It was crafted into you like music is woven into a songbird, in your dreams, in moments of silence, in the ache that feels holy and strange all at once. The person you are meant to love, not merely with affection, but with eternal recognition, is not arriving as a new chapter. They are the return of a name your soul has whispered in sleep. That is why the journey has often felt lonely, because you have tasted something the world could not replicate. You have been waiting for something you could not explain. And even in moments when you tried to let go of the hope, even when you convinced your mind to silence the longing, your spirit would not let it go. It held on because your spirit knows what it knows, and it knew them. This is not the love the world markets or manipulates. It is not the love that comes dressed in shallow promises. This is love that has been growing in the soil of your being, like a seed waiting for its season, waiting for its season. And now the season is drawing near. The winter is ending. Something you have carried inside of you is coming alive, and it is coming alive because it was never foreign to you. It was hidden, but never absent, dormant, but never dead. And the moment it arrives, you will not need convincing. You will know, because your spirit already does. So do not mock yourself for waiting. Do not despise yourself for longing. You were not desperate, you were remembering. And now, the remembering is becoming a reality. You did not imagine this name. They were inscribed within you by something greater than time, deeper than reason. Love like this does not need to be proven by logic or confirmed by the world's standards. It proves itself by the peace it brings when it finally appears. And when it does, you will see you were never waiting in vain. You were simply following a compass older than your lifetime. You were never truly alone, because even in silence, your soul kept singing their name. True love is not discovered, it is awakened. The world would have you believe otherwise. It would tell you to search, to chase, to strive for love, as if it were a hidden treasure buried beneath the sands of chance. But those who have encountered the rarest kind of love know that it does not arrive with trumpets or spectacle, and it is never a product of mere effort. Rather, it stirs, it rises. It comes alive in you, not because you have found something new, but because something old, something eternal, has been awakened from its slumber. Love of this kind is not a meeting of two strangers. It is the reunion of two souls that have never truly been apart. It is not built from scratch, but remembered, and it is not logic that brings it forth, but recognition. When this love begins to stir in you, it does not ask questions, it answers them. You do not have to list reasons, because the knowing itself becomes the reason. There is no need to test it, to prove it, to put it on trial in the court of your doubts. It simply arrives, gently, but with the weight of inevitability. In the earliest days of your existence, when you were yet unshaped by the world and untouched by heartbreak, your soul already held a knowing. Not a name, not a face, but a truth, a presence. It is that presence which waits patiently through your life, through the noise and the distractions, through lesser loves and broken expectations. It does not beg to be noticed. It simply waits for the moment you are ready to remember what your spirit never forgot. When true love awakens, it does not stir with fireworks, but with clarity. It is as if your life suddenly begins to make sense. Not all of it, but enough. Enough to remind you that you are not lost, that the ache was not pointless, that the yearning had direction, and though you may have wandered far and tried to settle for shadows of what your heart truly longed for, you find that love was never far. It was sleeping in the quiet corners of your being, waiting to rise. There is great humility in this kind of love. It does not demand to be seen, but once it is, it changes everything. You may look into their eyes for the first time and realize you have known them forever. You may hear their voice and feel as if your favorite song has just begun again. You may sit beside them in silence and feel more heard than in a lifetime of conversation. This is the mystery of awakened love. It has no need to explain itself. It simply is, and the awakening does not only happen in one heart, but in both. Like dawn breaking across two hills at once, both hearts begin to recognize the light. There is no competition, no struggle to convince. There is only a quiet unfolding, a shared remembrance, a sacred exhale. What was hidden is now visible. What was sleeping now breathes. And suddenly the years feel like steps, the pain like preparation, and the waiting like worship. You see that nothing was wasted. Not even the silence, because even silence can be sacred when it leads you to something eternal. This kind of love will not fit into the stories others tell. It is not always tidy, and it may not make sense to those who measure love by convenience or comfort, but to you it will be unmistakable, because it did not come from outside, it came from within. It arose not because someone else completed you, but because something in you came to life when they appeared. You were not a half, waiting to be made whole. You were a soul, waiting to be awakened. And now, the stirring has begun. The veil is lifting. What once seemed like a dream too tender to be real is becoming flesh and blood before your very eyes. You will not need to ask, "Is this it?" Because every part of you will echo, "This is what I've known all along." True love was not something you stumbled upon. It was the oldest truth you carried inside yourself, now awakened at last. Heaven does not send love to please you, but to transform you. But this truth, though often hard to accept, is the very heart of sacred love. The world speaks endlessly of comfort, of ease, of compatibility, as if love were meant only to fit us like a garment tailored to our preferences. But heavenly love is not crafted for your comfort, It is sent for your transformation. It arrives not as a mirror of your desires, but as a fire that refines what is hidden, neglected, and buried within. It will not only hold your hand, but also hold up a mirror. It will not simply reassure you. It will remake you. This kind of love does not arrive gently. It may walk into your life quietly, but it will stir the waters. It will unearth the things you thought you had hidden well. It will awaken wounds you believed were healed and expose fears you did not even know you carried. Not to harm you, but to heal you completely. True love sent from above does not settle for surface-level affection. It seeks your soul. It demands your authenticity. It calls you out of hiding. And you will find yourself becoming someone new. Not because you have changed to earn their love, but because their presence awakens a version of yourself that only divine love could reveal. You begin to speak more kindly, not because you're trying to impress, but because love speaks through you now. You begin to forgive not from weakness, but from strength, the kind of strength that heavenly love teaches. You begin to lay down pride, to choose vulnerability, to welcome truth, even when it stings, because something greater has taken root in you. This love will not let you stay small. It will not flatter your ego or dance around your insecurities. Instead, it will invite you into the dangerous beauty of becoming. It will call forth your courage, summon your gentleness, stretch your patience, and teach you how to love in ways you never imagined possible. It will ask you to grow, not because you are not enough, but because God's love believes in what you are still becoming. You may think you are ready for love because you are lonely. You may believe you are prepared because you have waited a long time. But heavenly love does not arrive according to your schedule. It appears when the soul is ripe, and when it does, it will not simply fulfill your longings. It will reveal the deeper longings underneath. You will realize that what you truly craved was not romance, not company, not distraction. What your soul truly desired was to become who you were made to be, in the presence of someone who calls that person forth. So be warned and be ready. Heaven's love is holy. It is not tame. It will bless you deeply, but it may first break what no longer serves you. It will make you confront your expectations, surrender your control, and release the need to understand everything. You cannot grasp this love with the mind. You must yield to it with the heart. You must be willing to be undone, because only when you are undone can you be remade. And this transformation is not only for you, it is mutual. You will find that the one who arrives bearing this love will also be changing. Not because you are shaping them, but because the same divine hand is shaping both of you through each other. You are not the sculptor. You are the clay, this clay. And love is the fire in which both of you are refined. In this sacred space, you learn what it means to serve rather than to be served, to give without demand, to stay when it's hard, to speak when silence is tempting, and to listen even when your pride resists. You learn how to love with open hands, not clenched fists. You learn to hold space for another soul's becoming, just as they hold space for yours. You may not feel ready. You may doubt yourself. You may tremble when you feel love rising, because you sense it will change everything. And you are right, it will, but let it. Let it come in and wreck what must be wrecked. Let it rebuild what was once broken. Let it make a home within you, not to soothe you, but to sanctify you. Because when heaven sends love, it does not come to leave you as it found you. It comes to call you into glory. The heart's deepest ache was always a prophecy of their coming. You may not have known it at the time. How could you? But every hollow silence, every whispered longing, every restless night, staring into the ceiling of your own thoughts, was more than sorrow. It was a signal, a soft sacred warning from heaven itself, alerting you that someone was on their way. That ache which followed you like a shadow wasn't a flaw in your design. It was proof of something, or someone you were born to receive. Pain, when it is not wasted, becomes preparation. Longing, when it is not numbed, becomes language. And in your case, the ache was not a void. It was a place being carved out, a sacred space being readied for a love you had not yet met, but were always meant to hold. There are those who try to silence the ache with noise or with pleasure or with distraction, and for a time that may work. But for some souls, perhaps yours, it always returns, and not as punishment. It returns because your spirit was designed for something greater than passing comfort. It returns because your soul already knows what the mind is still trying to understand, that there is a love coming for you, and every unmet desire was a signpost pointing toward it. Every heartbreak was a hollowing out that would one day be filled, and every disappointment was a stage being cleared, so that the right presence could take the place reserved for them all along. The ache was not an enemy. It was a prophecy in disguise. It was your soul remembering something your eyes had not yet seen. It was your being tuning itself to a frequency that only heaven understands. That's why nothing else ever quite satisfied you. not fully. That's why even the best moments sometimes felt like echoes. Because what you were hearing wasn't just emotion. It was anticipation. It was alignment. You weren't broken for longing too much. You were awake. You weren't weak for hoping in silence. You were already hearing the footsteps of someone your destiny could feel approaching. It is easy to mistake the ache for emptiness. Many do. But when love finally arrives, and your soul recognizes its reflection in another, you begin to see that none of your sorrow was wasted. None of the pain was random. It was all part of a language only the heart understands, a sacred dialogue between your longing and their arrival. And once they appear, the ache begins to quiet, not because you've forgotten your past, but because your future has stepped into it. And the silence that once haunted you becomes sacred again, no longer lonely, but full. You will find yourself saying, this is what I've been waiting for, not because they complete you, but because they awaken a memory that had been sleeping in your soul since before time. The longing wasn't foolish, it was foundational. It wasn't weakness, it was wisdom. It led you here. It carried you through the years when there was no evidence, but only faith. And now it bows to the truth it always believed, that love was on its way, that the ache was right. We are often told that pain must be solved, that longing must be fixed. But what if it was never meant to be eliminated? What if it was meant to be fulfilled? What if it wasn't something to escape, but something to follow? The world tells you to shut the ache down. Heaven invites you to listen, because when the heart aches deeply, it is rarely about what is missing in the present. It is usually about what is on its way. The ache is not a punishment. It is a preparation. It is the soul stretching itself wide enough to receive something too vast, too holy, too eternal to arrive quietly. And so, when you finally see them, when their presence matches the shape of the longing you've carried, you will understand. Not just in words, but in awe. You will realize that your ache was a love letter written ahead of time, that your pain was a prophecy, and that your tears were not wasted ink, but the sacred script of a promise finally fulfilled. You must be willing to be undone, that you might be rewritten in love's language. This is not the kind of undoing the world fears, where one is torn apart and left in pieces. This is a sacred unraveling, a holy dismantling, the kind of undoing that makes room for something far more beautiful to take shape within you. True love, the kind sent from heaven, does not enter quietly and leave you the same. It comes with fire, not to destroy, but to purify. It strips away the false layers you wore for protection, the masks, the defense mechanisms, the rehearsed smiles, the hardened heart that grew around your wounds. Love does not seek only to delight you. It seeks to reveal you, to show you to yourself in the light of truth, where nothing is hidden and everything is held. And this revelation requires surrender. It requires a bravery that most will never choose. Because to be truly loved, not just admired or desired, is to be fully seen. And to be fully seen is to risk the unraveling of the person you thought you had to be. The soul cannot wear armor and receive love at the same time. The two cannot coexist. One must fall away for the other to rise. And so, love waits patiently at the door, not forcing itself in, but knocking with quiet persistence, asking if you are willing to open, willing to release your grip on control, willing to let go of who you were in order to become who you were meant to be. To be rewritten in love's language is to learn how to speak from the heart again. It is to let go of bitterness disguised as strength, of sarcasm that hid your wounds, of distance that passed for independence. It is to allow another soul to see where you bleed, not so they can rescue you, but so they can stand with you as you heal. And in that sacred standing, you learn the gentle alphabet of love. The words that don't need shouting, the silences that speak volumes, the eyes that say what mouths cannot. But before this language is learned, the old one must fade. The language of fear, of control, of transactional affection must be unlearned. This is painful. You will be tempted to run back to comfort, to shrink back into the version of yourself that required less of you. But if you stay, If you endure the tender chaos of becoming, you will emerge with something no temporary comfort could ever give you. You will emerge fluent in the language of love that does not fade, that does not falter when storms come. This kind of transformation is not sudden. It is not loud. It happens slowly like sunlight melting frost. One honest conversation at a time. One act of vulnerability followed by grace. One quiet moment where you allow yourself to feel safe without explanation. You begin to speak differently, not just to others, but to yourself. The voice in your mind that once echoed with self-doubt begins to soften. The mirror becomes less of an enemy. You start to believe you are lovable, not because someone told you, but because someone showed you and you chose to receive it. And all the while, love continues its work, not as a taskmaster, but as a patient gardener, pruning, nourishing, tending to the fragile places until they bloom. You begin to realize that to be undone was never to be destroyed. It was to be made whole in a way you never imagined. The brokenness was not the end of the story. It was the soil in which the truest parts of you were buried, waiting for the right season to rise. Love's language is not learned in theory. It is lived, it is practiced, and it is always rewriting you, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Wayne. Because real love doesn't just hold your hand. It holds a mirror. It doesn't just affirm your beauty. It awakens your purpose. It doesn't just comfort your past. It calls forth your future. And for that future to be born, the past must be unmade, not erased, but transformed. So be willing to be undone. Let love strip you of what you never needed. Let it write its truth into every corner of your being. For once you are rewritten in love's language, you will never go back to silence. You will speak, live, and love in a way that echoes heaven. And those who hear it will recognize it too. Their name was etched in your spirit before time was born. You may not recall the moment because it lies beyond memory, before breath, before sound, before the beating of your heart. But there was a knowing placed within you, silent and sacred, hidden beneath layers of time and experience. It was not given to your mind, which forgets, or to your body, which ages. It was given to your spirit, which does not forget and does not fade. Their name was written there by a hand older than time itself, a name not always spoken aloud, but always felt, always sensed, like a distant melody that finds you in dreams or in the quietest places. Perhaps you felt it as a longing you could never quite explain. A strange familiarity when looking into the eyes of someone new, a moment of stillness in a crowded room where your soul stirred, whispering, "I know you," even when no name was known, even when no face was seen, the feeling remained, persistent, unshakable. A pull from somewhere deeper than the world you could touch. You've tried to dismiss it as fantasy, buried it beneath logic, distracted yourself with noise and routine. But it never left you, because what is written on the soul cannot be erased by doubt, time, or even pain. And that is the mystery of this kind of love. It is not a discovery, it is a remembering. When you meet them, it will not feel like learning something new. It will feel like recognizing something ancient. You will not explain the connection. You will simply feel the gravity of it, like coming home after lifetimes away. The world may not understand it. You may not understand it fully. But your spirit will. It will rise to meet them like a flame recognizes its source. There will be no struggle, only stillness. No fear, only awe. Their presence will answer questions you didn't know you were asking. Their voice will feel like a song you once knew by heart. Their energy will wrap around you like a memory you forgot you carried. And in that moment, you will understand why nothing else ever felt quite right. Why the others didn't stay. Why your soul refused to settle. It was never that you were hard to love. It was that your spirit remembered someone your heart hadn't yet met. This is not about fate in the romantic sense, nor about fairy tales that end in perfect ease. This is about something holy, a divine inscription made before the foundations of the earth. Love of this kind is not without challenge. It is not a story written without valleys and storms, but even in the struggle, there is a peace. Even in the waiting, there is assurance. Because you are not trying to create something from nothing. You are finding what was already true, buried deep within you. You are finding what eternity has whispered into the fabric of your being. And when you love them, it will not feel like reaching or grasping. It will feel like remembering how to breathe. You will not strive to make it happen. You will simply surrender to what already is. That surrender is not weakness. It is strength of the highest kind. The strength to trust what your soul knew all along. The strength to believe in what cannot be seen, only felt. The strength to walk into the unknown because the known is rising from within you. They may not arrive when you expect. They may not come in the form you imagined. But when they do, everything will begin to make sense, not in the way that logic demands, but in the way the stars align in silence. You will not need to be convinced. Your spirit will bear witness. The truth of their presence will resonate in every fiber of who you are. And you will finally exhale the breath you've been holding for years, maybe lifetimes. So trust the waiting, honor the ache. Do not silence the whispers inside you. They are not foolish. They are the echoes of a promise written before time. Their name is already written in your soul. And when the day comes that your eyes meet theirs, you will not wonder if they are the one. You will simply know. Because what was written in spirit before time began will at last be spoken aloud. And love will come alive, not as a new story, but as the unfolding of a name you've carried all along. Their name was etched in your spirit before time was born. You may not recall the moment because it lies beyond memory, before breath, before sound, before the beating of your heart. But there was a knowing placed within you, silent and sacred, hidden beneath layers of time and experience. It was not given to your mind, which forgets, or to your body, which ages. It was given to your spirit, which does not forget and does not fade. Their name was written there by a hand older than time itself, a name not always spoken aloud, but always felt, always sensed, like a distant melody that finds you in dreams or in the quietest places. Perhaps you felt it as a longing you could never quite explain. A strange familiarity when looking into the eyes of someone new, a moment of stillness in a crowded room where your soul stirred, whispering, "I know you." Even when no name was known, even when no face was seen, the feeling remained, persistent, unshakable. A pull from somewhere deeper than the world you could touch. You've tried to dismiss it as fantasy, buried it beneath logic, distracted yourself with noise and routine. But it never left you, because what is written on the soul cannot be erased by doubt, time, or even pain. And that is the mystery of this kind of love. It is not a discovery, it is a remembering. When you meet them, it will not feel like learning something new. It will feel like recognizing something ancient. You will not explain the connection. You will simply feel the gravity of it, like coming home after lifetimes away. The world may not understand it. You may not understand it fully, but your spirit will rise to meet them like a flame recognizes its source. There will be no struggle, only stillness. No fear, only awe. Their presence will answer questions you didn't know you were asking. Their voice will feel like a song you once knew by heart. Their energy will wrap around you like a memory you forgot you carried. And in that moment, you will understand why nothing else ever felt quite right. Why the others didn't stay. Why your soul refused to settle. It was never that you were hard to love. It was that your spirit remembered someone your heart hadn't yet met. This is not about fate in the romantic sense, nor about fairy tales that end in perfect ease. This is about something holy, a divine inscription made before the foundations of the earth. Love of this kind is not without challenge. It is not a story written without valleys and storms, but even in the struggle, there is a peace. Even in the waiting, there is assurance. Go. Because you are not trying to create something from nothing. You are finding what was already true, buried deep within you. You are finding what eternity has whispered into the fabric of your being, and when you love them, it will not feel like reaching or grasping. It will feel like remembering how to breathe. You will not strive to make it happen. You will simply surrender to what already is. That surrender is not weakness. It is strength of the highest kind, the strength to trust what your soul knew all along. The strength to believe in what cannot be seen, only felt. The strength to walk into the unknown, because the known is rising from within you. They may not arrive when you expect. They may not come in the form you imagined, but when they do, everything will begin to make sense. Not in the way that logic demands, but in the way the stars align in silence. You will not need to be convinced. Your spirit will bear witness. The truth of their presence will resonate in every fiber of who you are, and you will finally exhale the breath you've been holding for years, maybe lifetimes. So trust the waiting. Honor the ache. Do not silence the whispers inside you. They are not foolish. They are the echoes of a promise written before time. Their name is already written in your soul, and when the day comes that your eyes meet theirs, you will not wonder if they are the one. You will simply know, because what was written in spirit before time began will at last be spoken aloud. And love will come alive, not as a new story, but as the unfolding of a name you've carried all along.